Welcome to the Nerdtastic in 3D podcast.
It's Nerdtastic in 3D. Oh, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. Yes, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. It's Nerdtastic
in 3D. Bong.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to one of the following shows.
You look like
the
you're
Nerdtastic Podcast, Nerderball, Nerdtastic in 3D.
Talk nerdy to me.
Talk nerdy to
It's the best one.
Liz is
It's
really
the
pushing for
best
that.
one.
I just,
I feel
it's
like
just,
it's what the
Once
public
again,
wants.
I think you should
what
wear
the woman
shirt
brings
next
to the
time.
show.
Wear the shirt next
Birthdays,
I'm wearing a shirt.
Beyonce's birthday,
December
and
4th, or
talk
September
nerdy to me.
4th.
So Nerdtastic in 3D is an entertainment industry podcast. We are entertainment industry veterans talking to you about anything and everything that we find entertaining and or nerdy. My name is Jason Carter, work for Disney Toon Studios.
I'm Jack Geckler. I'm a crowds artist at DreamWorks Animation.
I'm Sean Kearney. I'm a game designer at Disney Mobile.
Jason Pecco, lead engineer at Disney Mobile.
Liz Heron, games researcher at Disney Mobile.
Sean Fennell, I'm a crowd supervisor at DreamWorks Animation.
I'm Josh Brott. I'm just an artist.
I'm just
a girl.
Just an artist.
And
We
we
have
have
that was the most professional we've ever gone around the room
I
saying
know.
what we did,
Yeah.
including
Kearney.
that jackass.
Yeah.
I give it to you, dude.
I thought
Hats
for
off to
sure.
Sean Kearney, dude.
Kearney,
I'm
are you
Sean
feeling-
Aston, and my
You feeling okay tonight, buddy?
Number
I was in
is-
Goonies.
You feeling okay tonight? I'm worried about you.
I'm feeling really good.
Feeling good.
Okay.
Bring some
So
slow jams for you tonight. Yeah.
this is episode number 74.
Siete tres.
We're getting up there in age.
Quattro. Siete Quattro.
And to celebrate 74,
74? Oh, I thought he said 73.
didn't you say quattro?
Whatever.
I don't even pay attention when you talk Spanish.
It's bad when my Spanish
To
is really
celebrate,
off.
to celebrate episode number 74, we thought we'd bring something very, very special to you this evening. And Jack, why don't you go ahead and take it
I thought
over?
this was Liz officially naked episode.
What?
Wow.
No.
No? That's 75.
no, it's
Tune
me,
in next
it's
week.
Me officially naked.
Oh, metal style. Oh.
That's what the public wants.
Exactly.
No, we've been trying to get this guy on the show for a while. Schedules have never worked out, but I'm happy to say we have...
A big part of that was the fact that we weren't recording for like
quite a
2
while.
months.
Quite a
Never
while.
say never.
Our schedule wasn't available at the time.
Yes. And he wanted to be on the show. One of my really, really good old friends. I think we've known each other 10 years now. From Naughty Dog Studios, animation lead from The Last of Us, Mr. Mike Yosh.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody?
Let it flow. Just let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow.
Welcome, Mike.
Good to be here.
Welcome to the show. And that's it.
That's
all we got.
And he's
Thank you.
here.
Thanks,
He's here.
everybody.
He's
Bye.
here.
Bye.
Nice meeting you.
So, Mike,
Yeah.
so Jack mentioned you worked at Naughty Dog, your animation lead.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I've been there for almost 8 years now.
8 years?
Yeah. So I got to work on Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, and right after we finished Uncharted 2, I got pulled onto this secret project, which turned out to be The Last of Us. And I've been working on that franchise ever since.
Cool.
So like 3+ years now.
Wow.
Like secret. Like you wouldn't tell me shit.
It
in
was
E3.
secret for quite a long time, yeah.
Our
Longer
kids
than we
play
wanted it
together,
to
and
be.
he wouldn't tell me shit. I'm like, I'm not tweeting. I'm
live tweeting this
it's
conversation.
Coming. Don't worry, it's coming.
Don't worry, you'll like it.
So Naughty Dog, be thankful your boy doesn't spill anything. Not anything.
So, Naughty Dog is a PlayStation-only developer?
Correct.
And one of the only ones out there, right? There's like only a handful. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're first party. We're owned by Sony. There's a few more. There's Gorilla.
Jay Pecco's like,
there's,
bet your ass.
yeah. So I think we've been owned by Sony 9 or 10 years. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure.
Okay. And do you notice any kind of difference developing for a platform exclusive versus trying to do something more cross-platform to all kinds of different?
Generally speaking, like with programming and stuff like that, there's less issues you run into with guys that are more used to programming for one console or the other. So it's a little smoother in that aspect.
Right.
On the animation side, there's not really much of a difference.
What animation package do you guys typically use?
We use Maya.
Maya.
Yeah.
That's
I
cool.
worked on Uncharted 2 as well in animation.
Did you?
Yes.
Right on.
Was he your lead?
I don't know if we dealt with you. I worked with Mumbauer down in Sony.
Oh, right on. Okay, cool.
For I think one of the thing was to try to get the test.
Right on.
Yeah, I did the test.
Uncharted 2, I was exclusively gameplay, so
okay,
just
these
like
were all
stick control.
I don't do any gameplay; I just do cinematic stuff.
Yeah.
And so we did the cinematics,
So
and
the
then I
Josh,
was
I
on.
don't do any gameplay.
No, but actually, I did gameplay stuff when I was at House of Moves.
Right on. Cool.
Yes. So
How-
When were you at House of Moves?
5 years ago.
You know Ryan McGeary? Scott Gagan?
Yeah, Gagan.
Yeah, sure.
Gagan.
So he works. So basically, you guys work coincide with what me and Josh and some of his friends call the Sony San Diego team.
Yeah.
Which happens to be a lot of me and Josh's friends from Sony ImageWorks who all migrated down there to sort of start or revamp that team down there.
Yeah.
How much do you work with them and like?
Well, I mean, we
on most
outsourced
titles.
We started outsourcing to those guys. I mean, for me personally, we didn't start outsourcing to them until about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the last project. The cinematic team was doing it a little more. I mean, they had like 90 some odd minutes of cinematics to do, and we only had 6 cinematic animators in house, so we needed help in terms of that. We started outsourcing some of the more scripted animations that we had that were in game, real time, to those guys about 3/4 of the way through the project. So like they really pulled through and helped us out.
Nice.
So, working on gameplay animation compared to like cinematic animation, what are the main differences? What do you have to like think about that maybe you don't?
Well, one of the biggest things is it's not necessarily about how it looks. I mean, like especially if you're doing like player control, like feel is the first thing you have to deal with. So like generally when I'll start with something, like sometimes I'll just have a pose and I just figure out what the speed is and how responsive it is with all the transitions in and out of it. And that's the most important thing for player control. For NPC control, it's about reading what they're doing. So like for a hit reaction, if you shoot them, you need to know immediately. You just hit the guy and be able to potentially tell how fast is he going to recover, you know, et cetera. So
it's maybe a little bit more exaggerated just so you can get the...
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, we had a plan at one time to actually have like hit reactions be a lot bigger when they're further away so they read better. That didn't work out. But I mean, you know what I mean? It's all about reading what you're seeing, not necessarily... You know,
right.
just what it looks like.
Did you find, because this is a game that has enemies that are both human and, like, zombie, for lack of a better term. Infected.
Whoa. Thank you.
Hey.
Keep going.
Did you find that either was, in the NPC realm, harder or easier to animate?
You mean
for to, like, read, being hit, and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, so we had a guy named Troy. He animated for the most part, all the infected guys we have, and yeah, there was some readability issues that we had with that because they're very twitchy. You know, you shoot them, it's got to read right, but you don't want to have some crazy over the top Hollywood hit reaction. We want it to feel like a bullet going into flesh. So we had some trouble with that, but I think we figured them out. You know.
And then the thing with this game is that the longer they had been infected, the more just fucked up they looked. For lack of a better term,
we had 4 stages of guys. So we had guys that that could still see and they could run at you and attack you straight up. They actually behaved a little bit differently too. We had the other guys where if you shine a flashlight on them, they'd cover their eyes and they'd run away. If you didn't have the flashlight, they'd come at you. And then we'd have the clickers who their head was split open, like the fungus was trying to get sunlight. And then I don't want to spoil too much. But then there's something else a little further. So.
And was there anyone that you were like, when it came up, you were like, oh man, I hate animating these guys because they're the worst. Like, they're too like, there's some bigger guys and then there's some smaller guys.
Well, no, I mean it was all fun because for the most part, I mean since I've been at Naughty Dog, I've been animating just humans, bipeds. So the fact that we got to animate anything that wasn't just a human running around, like hanging out from a tall building or whatever, it was like that was a welcome change. That was awesome to be able to do that. I didn't get a chance to do too much of that, but it was a lot of fun, We had a lot of fun experimenting with how they were going to move, so it took a long time. We finally figured it out, and we actually got the actual final movement set from our game director, Bruce, who actually filmed himself, and he got the Twitch thing just right. And we tried experiments like they did in some of the movies we'd mocap everything, we'd have them walking backwards, and then just flip the curves around and just have them walk forward and just tweak their weight so it looks like, you know what I mean? And it just looked broken. It didn't look right, so that didn't work either. But that was one of the more fun experiments we had with getting those.
Do you, being that you've been there so long and since Uncharted 1, I mean, you guys have won sometimes best game of the year, and then other times animation, best animation. Did you feel like going into this, you're like, oh, shit, I got to keep this going? Like,
I mean,
like, is there a pressure going into this? You're
I mean,
like, this has to be on the same par as these other games because we're winning these awards. We're doing really good. They're selling. I mean, it's one of the top selling PS games every year. You guys put out.
That definitely adds to the pressure. I mean, like I think there were like 12 of us that came off of Uncharted 2 that we got to talk and say, hey, we're gonna do something new. So you 12 are gonna start at the very beginning. So everyone had a lot of pressure coming off Uncharted 2, winning, all the awards that we got. And obviously, anytime you do anything, whether it's games or movies or anything, the next one you want to be better, right? You want to top the last thing you did. You want to leapfrog it. So, of course, like we had tremendous pressure on ourselves, and just like any other game studio, we just tried tons of stuff for like a long time.
How long is that production cycle for you guys?
This one was right about 3.
3 years.
Yeah.
And what's the staff size? What do you get up to?
Well, not including the outsourced guys, I want to say we probably had 150 maybe. I mean, we had help. There was with all the outsourcing stuff, I couldn't really give you a real number.
What was the first thing that you guys? So the opening of this game is awesome. Like, it's super incredible. Was that the first thing that you guys kind of put together? Like, what was?
No.
Really?
No, actually, it's funny.
Yeah.
That was one of the last things we did.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
that was
that
a scramble.
The first half hour of the game is it has a little bit of a different tone than the rest of the game, and is just super compelling. You play as a different character. What was it that you were using? Because I imagine that over the course of these 3 years, you had meetings and pitches and things like that you had to keep selling the game and getting it greenlit. Like, was there a specific reel you were showing or a playable that you were bringing around, going like, so this is the game in a nutshell. This is what it's supposed to be.
We had a vertical slice, and it's in one of the levels. It was probably about 30, 40 minutes of gameplay that we had, and we pretty much tried to throw all the elements that we wanted to get in the game in this area, right? So if you knew how we released some of the stuff, that one didn't include any of our infected. I mean, one of the big things that they wanted to start with was the infected, they weren't like the main enemy. Other people were, and they weren't necessarily bad people. They were people trying to survive too. So we tried to get that feeling.
I think that's what I saw first. I mean, didn't that even in the trailer was sort of like, it's people are your worst enemy. Like, I didn't even know about the infected, I think, until later on.
Yeah, and I think that's what they wanted. Like, they're out there, and it's like this imminent threat that's always there, but you didn't see them that often. I mean, you do see them. Don't get me wrong, but they weren't at the front lines of like what you're battling.
It's kind of like Walking Dead, right? Their worst enemies end up being,
It's crazy though that you guys are pitching a zombie game, or in a game that is this post-apocalyptic kind of zombie game. And you're like, oh, so we got this demo, and they're like, oh, sweet, where are the zombies? Like, yeah, we didn't. Okay,
about that.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
got this
had
cool.
a couple of friends that were
Down
like,
for
dude,
that.
what happened? The first trailer, you had all these really cool zombie-looking things, and like, what happened? It's just like, just don't have patience. Have patience.
I got a pitch for this
Have faith in
movie.
us.
It's called Jurassic Park. All right, I got a couple of scenes from the movie.
We
It's
got
really
the
good.
park.
Sam Neill, he's great.
So what's the what's the percentage? And this is for the animators out there. What's the percentage of the game you'd say is mocap versus 100% keyframe? And I know from both of us having done it before, mocap clearly is keyed on as well.
Sure.
But just 100% keyframe stuff versus mocap.
Oh boy, I probably have to say like 85-15 in favor of mocap. Sure.
What would be your keyframe stuff that you go all keyframe on?
Like some of the climb stuff, some of the drop down stuff, landing. Like,
And that'd be the gameplay actions, right?
Yeah, I mean, cinematics was. I mean, I know there were some keyframe things that they had to like fix in cinematics and stuff. But I would say more of the keyframe stuff was in gameplay, and it was mostly just motions that were really hard, very difficult to capture, or you're landing on pads and stuff, and it's just like, well, I'd rather just animate this. I'm going to sneak in a landing. You know what I mean? You have a little fun with it. You know what I mean? And it turns out great. So, but yeah, most of our mocap stuff is like heavily keyed over, and like we end up changing the timing and et cetera, yada yada yada. I mean, you guys probably do the same kind of thing. So,
And you have a pipeline set up to handle basically that going from mocap to animation. And I know when we were at ImageWorks, me and Josh for Beowulf, there was a hierarchy of a rig that allowed us to kind of do that. I'm assuming you guys kind of have the same setup. Or?
Yeah, like our setup is like when we have in Maya, without getting too techie here. When we're in Maya, we got basically 2 rigs. We have like a mocap rig and we have like an animation control rig.
Too techie.
And we can have
Nerdtastic. By the way.
I'm sorry. And we can have essentially have either one drive the other one. So if we bring mocap in, we'll put it on the mocap rig, and we can have that drive the animation rig and key over the top of that. Now we have Maya layers in the last couple of Mayas that have been out. So it's just we have layers upon layers that we can create and stuff. So when we mocap stuff, it gets thrown onto the mocap rig. It's a simple FK rig. And then we just bring that in, and the last 2/3 of the project, we brought in a guy named Damon Shelton, who was at Digital Domain on the mocap stage, and he integrated PeelSolve into our mocap pipeline, and it's been awesome. The data's been fantastic. I can't get over how great the stuff is. It comes in so fast, and it's
like the first data you're having come in.
PeelSolve.
Yeah, because we originally would get like stuff rough.
Explain to somebody like, and Jay's saying, just for the listeners, like who? Yeah, it's like a banana. Like what is PeelSolve? Like explain to somebody like maybe the process from actually capturing motion capture data, and then what PeelSolve does to get it to you.
So in mocap, there's generally, and I'm not a mocap expert either, so but generally there's tracking and solving. So tracking is tracking all the markers to make sure they're still all connected and stuff, so you can still, in a sense, see a stick figure with balls running around. Markers, sorry, Bill, out there.
We're all stick figures.
We had the balls. We had the balls
there,
in
you
post.
extrapolate that data, and you have a preset constraint to a rig, and that's where you solve it to the rig. And I mean, essentially, that's what it is. It's like constraining it to it.
I gotcha.
And he has tons of all these scripts, so it just makes, you could put data from a 6'2" guy on, a character that's like 5'4", and he has these scripts that move her a little further for touch points, so they always hit. I mean, it's crazy. Nice. It's so nice. So he's done a great job improving everything.
So how big is your team that you have? Like you said, it was up to like 150. Does it constantly stay that big, or do you fluctuate as letting
there's
people
some
go?
I mean, there's definitely fluctuation. We bring in contractors, Again, I think in studio at peak, I think we had I want to say like 24 animators just balls out animating the last X amount of months, however long it was. So it was pretty crazy. I mean, it was by far the biggest game animation team I've been a part of, and
you guys in studio typically have something like most film houses now. You typically have one project, full-blown development, getting ready to come out, while you have another project kind of in the back door with another team kind of working. So you always have this kind of tandem effect.
kind of.
Yeah.
So what's
Well,
next?
we're not saying what's next per se,
No, I'm
but I'm
asking
just
what's
saying
next.
in general though, it is this kind of tandem thing where, unlike when me and you worked together, where it was like it's just one big ass team, and when that was done, start on the next one.
Well,
start on
yeah,
the next one.
no, yes, you're right about that. I mean, there were definitely some resources that had to be shuffled around a little bit to help out, but I mean, yeah, for the most part, yeah, that's pretty much exactly the way it's working.
Did you have to deal with the Ellen Page thing?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The where her face was actually modeled.
I don't know what you're talking
You know?
about.
I actually don't know what you're talking about, but obviously there's some inner dialogue happening there.
You don't know?
No.
Like
So explain what Mike can't say.
basically that the girl was modeled kind of very similar looking to Ellen Page.
She bears a resemblance.
Bears a resemblance, if you will. Yes.
Striking.
Is it
And
And her
the
voice,
PC?
too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She had brown hair.
yes.
Because I was saying that I was watching the cutscenes earlier today, and that's who I actually thought that's who it was. And I was like, who? I know that voice from somewhere. I know it from somewhere. And then I Googled it because I was like, oh, I know. It's the Juno
Chrissy.
girl.
It's a Juno
It's
girl.
the Juno girl. And so I Googled it, and then that's where I saw that it is, in fact, not Ellen Page.
And so because Ellen
there was
Page is
some sort of-
doing
She's doing
Beyond
another
Two
game,
Souls.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so basically it's a little
Is
bit
that
of
a is that a
conflict of interest.
but is that a PlayStation exclusive or is that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Where's the conflict? Everybody's friends.
Well,
Doesn't everybody
we're
get
all
along?
part of the Sony family.
So Mike, I've known, like I said, 10 years.
Yeah.
And the first job I got when I moved out here and got lucky enough to get a job, and it wasn't Pottery Barn, ended up being at a studio called Genuine Games.
Yes.
It was
and,
almost Pottery Barn.
It was so much closer than I give people. Like I don't really tell. Like I almost was accepting it, and I got lucky and I came in for an interview, and you were already there. You had just started. Not too long
I think I was only there
that.
like a couple of months.
Yeah,
right?
you would
Wait,
just
are we
started.
talking about Pottery Barn still?
Yeah. Mike was there.
He was
This
the
is
manager.
where we
He was
met.
the store manager.
We've come a long way, guys. And I got hired on for Fight Club, and me and Mike sat next to each other, and we got to experience that game. How have things changed? Let's start with that experience to where you are now, because you were there longer than I was, and me and Mike were roommates. We lived together for a while too, and we were on that game together, and then we were on 50 Cent Bulletproof 50 Cent for. He was on the whole time. I checked out as fast as I could.
I wasn't there the whole time.
Working on
I
the
bolted
classes.
out.
Okay, so how's the experience been from going from that to a
No, it's cool.
to a studio where you have like a console backing? You know what I mean? The
Oh,
difference
well.
between the studio was a startup. Me and Mike were at that had two senior guys who got money together and said, "Hey, we're going to start a studio.
Yeah.
Hey, Vivendi, you like this title, so we'll make it for you." Compared to going to a place that had. I mean, Naughty Dog already had titles under their belt where they were
Sure.
getting tons of money. So, I mean, what were the differences from going from that? I feel like people listening who maybe want to get into that, like, what were the differences going
Well,
from
I
that
mean,
to
the
this?
most obvious thing, like if you say you walk into the two studios, is like the equipment that you have, right? So, like you have.
I mean, we're all not sitting. You're all not
Right.
sitting in one row
We're
on
not
one desk.
really Naughty Dog. We're not really lined up like cattle.
Kinda like
so
we
we
are
have
now.
really nice, cool setups, you know. So
We need to expand.
Genuine wasn't the worst I've ever been at in terms
and I
of
wanna get
the
to that,
lining
yeah.
up like cattle. I mean, but I had a lot of fun at Genuine for a while. It was a new experience. I just moved to California. I was making all new friends, and you know, for a good year or so, at Genuine, it was a blast. We used to go out boozing right down the street all the time.
We had
We
high
made a
hopes
video
for a
game,
while.
too,
No, we
but-
had, no. But I mean, no, they're right. It was my first job, period, in the industry outside of teaching. So I mean,
Yeah.
the Kool-Aid was being drunk every day.
Right.
And it was Fight Club, and we had cool art at the time, and it was going to be this amazing thing.
Sure.
And we were all super stoked.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to work on.
Our other roommate, because we worked in video games, it was the three of us living in an apartment.
Yeah.
Was the lead
Gameplay
fight designer.
Yeah.
So it was awesome because
Slash
he was
programmer. He was really programming. He was putting everything together.
he was obsessed with, and I've talked to Sean about this, he was obsessed with fight movies. And we had at the house at any given time every kind of martial arts video that even existed, period. Like, I think he was even
Yes.
going down to downtown LA buying, back alley kind of videos. You're like, what's this? He's like, I don't know, two kids fighting back there. I filmed it. Seriously, we had, and then he'd come over to
Gave
me
him
and
a
Mike and be
Snickers
like,
bar.
hey, dude, let's slip this in. Especially Mike. He'd walk over to Mike, and it'd be
That's what
moves that
she
we wouldn't even
said.
talk to producers about. Hey,
Right.
hey, put this armbar in.
like, so that's
What?
what wasn't
Like, before arm bars were even a thing? Like,
Yeah,
with
like we
UFC?
were doing like all these crazy, like, hey, let's do this, the Colombian necktie.
We're not
or
talking to producers.
and you're
We're
like,
just
I'm
like-
what is that? Like, holy crap, how did he do that? You know, and honestly, since this day, I'm a huge MMA fan because
of him. No, same with me, dude.
I watch it all the time.
Kickboxing,
you know?
Muay
It's so
Thai,
much
all
fun.
because of this guy.
K1?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's badass.
But so I mean, the biggest difference is like clearly the equipment. Like,
Yeah.
what else
Good
are you
radio.
seeing? Like, just how everything's handled and.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, I'd like to say like there's a plan all the time. There's not. I mean, the way we work is you know, an outline's there and everyone throws their input in, and we take the best of the best, and something changes around. I mean, like I would say like the overall way we develop, it probably isn't too much different from like little studios, honestly, at Naughty Dog, but. I mean, with genuine games, like there was definitely something more raw about it because I was so new and I was learning so much at the time. I mean, that was a lot of fun, but now that I'm at Naughty Dog, like I feel like confident that I'm making a good game now. Whereas like back then,
You sell a couple million copies every year. But yeah, it's funny how that
well,
happens.
I mean, it's not just that. It's just like, you know, like I mean, you wouldn't make it a Naughty Dog if you didn't believe in the game you're working on. And, you know, like, don't get me wrong, there's times where it's tough to believe in it, but you just got to stick it out and have faith. And, you know, it's worked out pretty well so far.
What was great too is when I started there were what I
At
called
Naughty
the I wish it was the were the Jersey boys. So Mike had moved out from Jersey, but he had taken everybody he had worked with at a game studio pretty much with him, almost.
Kind of. Like, Rich,
How many?
Rich got me
there
and
was
Murad
like
out.
4 or 5 of you when I started.
Yes,
I'm like,
and then-
this is my buddy. This is my. It's like Jersey Shore all in our cube of
Yeah.
like 6 of us, dude.
I think I pulled like 3 or 4 guys back out of New Jersey.
So explain the studio, your first studio in Jersey you worked at.
Okay, so
This is the best stuff.
So I jumped on this. I got an offer. I was working on a screen printing place, and like my old teacher from a comic book illustration school that I went to like years earlier just walked in and said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "I'm working here." He's like, "What did you do?" I went to VFS, etc. Da da da. Oh, hey, I know a place that's hiring animation. I was like, "Holy shit!" You know.
And you were a 2D
Can I
guy.
swear?
Like that was your. Oh yeah. And you were a 2D guy. Like
Right,
your background
so
was 2D animation.
I was a 2D animator. So I gave this place a call. I showed him my my little short film. The guy with the vegetables.
I remember.
You've seen it. And holy crap, I got hired. And it was all 2D sprite stuff, which was fun. I got to work on a commercial for Dear Avenger 2, I think. And I did a bunch of 2D.
Oh, the title list gets better.
Yeah. So I worked on in the first year that I worked there, I worked on about 7 games on a month cycle to like I was bouncing all over the place. I worked on a bunch of games, and then all of a sudden there was this mass exiting from the company. So I went into the office. I'm like, I want to learn 3D. Okay, you're one of the few guys that's left. Sure, learn 3D on the job. So I had a nightmarish year because I didn't really even use a computer before that, and we did Outlaw Volleyball, Outlaw Golf. Not in that order.
Great games, though. Both of those are great games. I played the shit out of Outlaw Golf.
Cool.
I loved everything about that game.
And pretty much that's where the other guys who worked with
Yeah.
Genuine you'd worked with.
Yeah,
were on
we
those
all kind of
titles.
came out of that, and like Murad, he's a lead over at Treyarch on Call of Duty, and like Rich has been a lead at Naughty Dog and Blizzard and you know what I mean. So a lot of Donnie, he's down. Actually, I'm not sure if he's a Junction player right now, but like he was a big deal at Sony for a while. Leandro's actually at Naughty Dog right now. He's one of the leading lighting artists. Yeah. So all at that little place in New Jersey, a whole bunch of people just like, I like to say, blossomed.
But they would bitch all the time about the experience there, the working experience. That was the best I get. I had been teaching for 2 years. This is my first job, and all I hear is these guys all day. It fucking sucked. This is way better out here. You don't know pain.
I mean, there's nostalgia to it. I mean, I took a huge pay cut to go there. I worked at a warehouse like a couple of years earlier, and I was making like half at the animation studio that I was at the warehouse. So I was a little bit bitter at life. And plus, a lot of my other friends were a couple of years ahead of me in terms of like with schooling and all that kind of stuff. So they were making money, and I was scratching, for cheese anywhere. So, I mean, I was a little bitter at the time, but looking back, I was able to learn 3D on the job, so they actually hooked me up.
So one of my favorite things that I've heard about the PlayStation 3 is that this is a quote from Rooster Teeth, that it's useless other than a Naughty Dog delivery system. And I thought that was brilliant. And it kind of brought up this question to me of, Naughty Dog is the sort of one of very few poster children for developers that are exclusive to PlayStation.
Yeah.
What does that buy you? Like as a developer, as a lead on the team, like what do you get with that relationship? You're pretty valuable to Sony, obviously. So what can you reach over to Uncle Moneybags and be like, hey, we want to beef this up? Or
well, I mean, me personally, I'm not really exposed to most of that kind of stuff.
Right, sure.
But I mean, there's definitely a sense of we all believe that Sony believes that we're gonna give them something that kicks ass. So like there's less threat. I mean, I've worked at other studios where there's always that little imminent threat of, oh crap, if this green light doesn't go good, what's going to happen? I'm not really too worried about that at Naughty Dog right now. I mean, everything we've shown has been pretty solid, so that's one of the biggest things I've noticed. Like the other places, there was always that like, oh my gosh, like 3 months from now, am I still going to be here? Or am I going to be begging on a corner?
Right.
Was there a fear actually with The Last of Us coming from Uncharted 2? Clearly, it's easy to keep that sort of chain going. Was there like a fear of, we're going to pitch some crazy-ass zombie thing? I don't know. Like, was there a fear internally of we're going to try to pitch this idea that's not a bread and butter? That's story-driven?
No, because it really wasn't
like really story-driven?
Yeah, it wasn't really pitched to the rest of the team as like a zombie game. Like, he kind of...
Even more so. Like, a zombie game, I would think, be easier to pitch than, hey, this is just a story-driven game, but not Uncharted per se.
And you get to play as a little girl sometimes.
Like the
Seems like a tough sell.
yeah. Well, like the way it was kind of pitched to us was, from what I remember, this was a long time ago.
Is that coming from Sony? Because I'm trying to tie into what Jason's saying. Like,
no, this is from Neil and Bruce.
Okay,
Neil's
this is from
Australia.
From the studio.
Yeah, from those two guys, game directors. Neil was a co-lead on Uncharted 2, and Bruce was a game director on Uncharted 2. So it was, now we want to try something. The way I remember it being pitched was they started off, they want a relationship between the player and an NPC. And that was a really important part of the game, was getting a relationship that you not just hear, but you feel it as you play the game. So,
like, you don't want to see them get hurt. You have
an
attachment
like if they're talking to each other, you want to see that they're talking to each other. If one's mad at you, that we want it to look like they're a little pissed off at you, and not just a facial expression, but like their body stance, all that stuff. We wanted you to feel a relationship, you know.
But do you feel like the relationship, like I think what Jason is asking, or I'm thinking, is that because you guys have the clout with them, does that buy you pretty much? We can come at them with any idea, and they're probably going to be game.
It's probably to a certain degree, I would imagine, like because of your track record, regardless of your first party or not, because of your track record, they trust your instincts.
Yeah, I think they do. I mean, they let us do The Last of Us, and turned out.
But could you come to them all of a sudden and be like, "We're going to do a car game"?
Whoa.
Okay, that was if that was literally, if you go that route now, I didn't know. So don't yell at Mike. That was only because they were talking about Mario Kart earlier, so that's where my head went. Okay. If you were going to do a Mario Kart, but not Mario Kart.
No, I mean, yeah, like there's definitely confidence that like they believe in us, and that helps us believe in ourselves. And, you know, just having confidence in what you're working on, that goes a long way. I mean, you guys probably all have that too. If you don't believe in what you're working on, it's going to be tough to give 100%. So
stuff for our movie just kind of got released today, and it was kind of we really showed our logo and character design. Well, it got released
on the net.
Yeah, it's on the
leaked.
It got leaked on the net, but it was presented. It was to a press event in like DC. It's something. Do you know?
No,
Sean doesn't care about your show
because Sean's on the same movie as me.
I can't. I don't even have time to look at what's happening outside.
They said that the movie looked a lot more exciting than the boring title.
That's good.
It's a huge backhanded compliment. That's like going like, "Hey Liz, those clothes fit you pretty good for your weight."
It's exactly how I feel about our show.
Oh, there's the face.
Exactly.
Oh,
he didn't mean that, Liz.
I know.
He didn't mean that.
Sad day.
Look at his face. He totally meant that.
So can I swing a little bit to the tech side?
No.
Please.
So I have a question.
So I went to GDC a couple years ago, and they did a big talk about the animation engine for Uncharted, and it was like amazing, the type of blending.
With Jeremy and Judd.
I don't remember the name.
It was like 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was about 4 years ago. Yeah, so are they using still an iteration of that engine for The Last of Us, or are you guys doing a ton of blending? And
yeah, we're using the same kind of tools and the same techniques and stuff like that. I mean, we upped it a little bit in terms of, like, one big thing we added was gestures, and that is... I mean, they're just like partial and additive animations that play on top of walks and runs and stuff. So I could like look at you and kind of shrug my shoulders in any direction that, you know, would look right. And there's no interruption on like the player or the NPC if they're walking or running and stuff like that.
Does that change the way you have to animate things to make sure that
yeah,
those layers
I mean, you definitely have to pull back a little bit on like the base animation that you're going to apply everything to, so you can have these things play on top. But I mean, that's a bigger win to have all that stuff because it helps show emotion, and that was a huge part of
for sure.
what we were trying to do.
Did you guys struggle with that a lot, actually, in some of the first stuff, trying to just show sort of that emotion between the player and the NPC, and then like really reading?
Well, no, and I'll tell you why. Because the first couple things we dumped in, it was just way too over the top. I mean, we were
like overly expressive.
Yeah, like it's not like we were throwing like Looney Tunes, like crazy style stuff in, but like it was always just like, oh whoa, that's way too much. Pull it back, tone it down, and like, you know, like Neil's mantra with a lot of this stuff was less is more, and it turned out great. We had all these little things that are just these subtle, you know, arm turns and stuff, and it reads really well. And like you're not seeing it when you're playing the game, like, wow, that was a great gesture. You end up feeling the overall experience and stuff like that. So
Was there? Did you do more? Were there more animations for Joel than there were for Nathan Drake, or did you because you were going for emotion so much?
I mean, more than Uncharted 2, it was probably close to about the same. I mean, we also had 2 franchises to work on Uncharted 2, so we had more to build on. But I want to say I couldn't tell you. That's a number I never checked. I was religious on like Uncharted 1, like wow, me and Jeremy did this many animations. And Uncharted 2, oh, we did this many, and like I don't remember how we did in Last of Us. It was probably something close, but it probably wasn't quite what Uncharted 2 was in terms of number of assets.
Was there a difference in the animations of the 2 characters, considering that they seem a little bit more similar, obviously, than
Princess Peach
and Mario, or they seem like somewhat similar, sort of like lead. I was
going to say Princess Peach and Mega Man.
What do you mean different? You mean just in terms of like the way we did everything, or
just in the types of animations and the types of the way that you animated them, like the way that they walked and the way that they kind of carried themselves.
For one, like Joel is, his whole moveset is a strafe, so like he have to run left and right, and all those left and right animations have to be perfectly phased with the forward run. So, and same with the back. So we have a back set of 3 animations, and they have to be perfectly phased with each other, which is
blending those things. They're horrible.
It's tough to do because just because you have it phased doesn't mean it looks good, right? So like you might be moving 45 degrees in one direction, and you're playing a 50% blend on 2 full body animations with gestures and partials playing on top of all this stuff. It gets a little out of hand sometimes, but that was the biggest difference in terms of the player animations.
On the mocap side, though, were you very conscious not to use, and Josh will probably remember this, to use the same actor who would maybe do a lot of your shoots for Drake, making sure not to use him on The Last of Us? Because
Nolan North.
For Beowulf, they found out really fast, if you use the same people we used for Spider-Man, for the Beowulf, he would always land in the Spidey pose on jumps. No, seriously, we would get data. We would get data and be like, okay, literally this is getting old. We would have to redo it. He would land in this, the crouch pose, like, okay, Spidey, this is not the same.
There's definitely people that have the same signatures when they move and stuff like that. We had a guy who did a lot of our stunt stuff anyway. First, Troy Baker did all the acting and stuff for Joel. And then we had a stunt guy.
Is that the little mini-me?
No,
that's Vern Troyer. So
it has name in the right order.
Did you see my confusion?
It literally has
that
3 words in common.
That solver's amazing. It goes from 3 feet to a 6 foot character.
He said they could do it.
Yeah,
the pill solver's amazing.
So Troy did all the cinematics. He did a big chunk of all like the scripted heavy dialogue driven stuff that we had in the game. For all the gameplay stuff, we wanted a certain brutish look to it, and just to save a lot of time, we have a stunt guy named Chris Robinson we brought in, and he's an quarterback from Clemson. He's a big guy, has a lot of weight on him, and he's crazy athletic, and he's just awesome at what he does in a lot of games. So his signature was great for Joel. He was solid.
So you definitely didn't use this same kind of actor you used for
No.
Can I make a recommendation that if you guys do a sequel and you need to mocap specifically Joel's beard, which gets unruly at times, I imagine, our guy Jason Pecco here, you could tie some balls or some markers to his beard, and I think you could get something really good.
Hey, Mike, if you could tie your balls on Jason's chin, that'd be amazing.
He's totally fine with that.
So let's jump to next gen for a second. I'm kind of curious about, what do you as an animation lead think that higher fidelity of graphics and more RAM is going to buy you and your team?
Well, the first thing I think of is animation memory. So
more allotment for your part of the artwork?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know all the numbers and stuff like that yet that we're going to have to deal with, but a huge portion of our animations are at 15 frames a second. We have a lot that are at 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of the ones that are the real meat and potatoes we did get at 30, but a lot of that would build up all the frame rate on everything, and we'll probably have a lot more opportunities to stream animation, so it's not loaded into the animation memory. So,
right.
Which we were able to do, but we were limited to with how much we could do that with on our game.
It's like seeing the end result too, because I was doing facial animation on this game called Saboteur. And
that's a good game too. You guys keep playing down good games.
He loves every game.
But Yeah, it
count
was.
on Kearney to have played all these.
It was like Inglourious Bastards, the video game. It was
Kind of like that. But I spent so much time just animating this face and talking, and by the time it actually gets to a render, even in cinematic stuff, if it's rendered with like a game engine too, it drops off.
Yeah,
so
you
much.
can.
It's like, it looks like shit.
Yeah, I mean, you can lose some stuff. I mean, it happens when you render stuff in game engines sometimes. I mean, I like to
But
think
I'm
our
sure you
stuff
test it
turned
and
out pretty tight.
I mean, you look at it and I'm sure, do you end up having to make a lot of adjustments? Because my last experience in games is when we were there, and I don't remember a lot of that happening.
Well, I mean, all our cinematics are rendered in engine. They have a little more control on the face than we do for the gameplay stuff. I mean, when you have a head that's 4 or 5 inches on the screen, for the most part during gameplay, you don't need all that extra. I mean, there's no point. Like, put it in effects, or just give me more animation memory for more animations. So.
How much time do you have to spend in the game engine? Like, do you have to actually put the animations in yourself, or is there an integration engineer? Or?
Well, when we have gameplay engineers, if we're creating like a different version of a function that already exists, say a run for a different character, we have like remapping and retargeting. So we can just basically dump a character in the game, and the programmers will hook up a retarget and say like, all right, this guy's going to use this person's animation. So it all works. So for testing purposes, for design and gameplay and etc., nothing's holding those guys back. We have some script files, exactly what I went to animation school for, that we go in and we replace the animations per character. And we don't necessarily replace every single animation. Some of the small stuff, we just let them use the other person's animation. You're not going to know the difference. Mm-hmm. But all the like idles and walks and runs and all that kind of stuff, they should be unique for each character. So we have the power to put all that kind of stuff in without even talking to a programmer, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're in a script file and you're not animating. So in the end, it's a super powerful tool to have, and we're glad to have it.
That's cool.
So how much animation are you pumping out a week for the game?
Well, so for gameplay, there's no way to give you a number because there's so many, like, just try this, that didn't work, try this, that didn't work, you know what I mean? And then sometimes you have a week that you just fly through. For like IGCs and cinematics, I should say for the IGCs, which are the scripted animations in game, we usually try to go between 12 and 15 seconds a week, and during crunch, I think we were probably closer to 20. For the cinematics, I think those guys held pretty steady between 7 and 10.
Speaking of crunch, how long do you guys have to crunch for?
Long time.
I remember talking to you. Well, that was part of the things I wanted to be on the show. I don't know. I got a couple months. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Are you excited? As excited as you probably are to move to like PS4? Do you think? It seems like right now, like with as it was, I feel like at the end of the last console generation, there's lots of great games coming out. Your guys being one of them, GTA 5, lots of games that are really pushing the hardware. Do you think that? Are you like pumped to learn some new stuff, or are you kind of like, oh man, we're just like reaching the potential of the PS3, and now we got to move on to this new one?
No, I mean it's good. It forces everybody to move forward, right? I mean, it's gonna be really hard to get all this new stuff working with all these new numbers, and along with all that new stuff with just like software updates, all your tools got to get updated. So we have tons of like game tools that we have. All that stuff's gonna have to be updated. But as they updated it, hopefully we can squeeze in improvements and etc.
Your whole engine, the whole foundation of what your games are built on has to be ported over to new hardware now too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's
one of the big things
huge
that
process
we're working on is getting it over.
I can imagine that would be not a quick process.
No, it's not quick at all. It's very, very slow.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's long. It's arduous.
So are you playing the game?
What do you mean?
Like, are you going to play the game?
The Last of Us?
When is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I've already played it
a
few times.
And is it as enjoyable for you as working on it as if you weren't working on it, kind of knowing some of the bits that's going into it?
Yeah, it was, because I never got a chance to really. So, like when we're in development, I'm playing the game and I'm looking at it, but I'm doing it in little pieces. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, sorry, Sean and David, but I skipped over cinematics most of the time because I need to look at like the stuff that I was, you know what I mean? So I knew what was going on. I knew what most of the cinematics were, but I never saw the whole thing, because pacing is really important in our games too. So I never saw the way it was totally put together. So the first time I played it was all the way through was probably something around 4 or 5 days after we shipped, after I got a little bit of sleep, and it took me about 4 or 5 days at the office to play, and like it was awesome. It was just I had so much fun.
Was it awesome to come into work knowing that was the only reason you were there? To just play through it.
Yeah, I mean, I was pumped to play it because there were so many questions that I had with, did all this stuff work? Did like the way we pace all these things out? Did it really work? I mean, I saw them in little chunks. I mean, that wasn't my job to see the big picture of the game, so I was pretty confident we nailed it, but I didn't get to experience it, so experiencing was awesome,
So are you playing GTA 5?
I am not, but after I leave here tonight, I'll be picking up an HDMI cord and putting it in. I lost the cord for my Xbox, so
let's switch gears slightly and talk about what the Guinness Book of World Records released today, which is that GTA 5 now holds the following records: best-selling action-adventure video game in 24 hours, best-selling video game in 24 hours, fastest entertainment property to gross $1 billion, fastest video game to gross $1 billion, highest grossing video game in 24 hours, highest revenue generated by an entertainment product in 24 hours, most viewed trailer for an action-adventure video game.
And it beat The Last of Us for Sony's digital purchase.
Downloads.
Yeah, because Last of Us had the record, and now...
Yeah.
So for those of you jokers,
so sorry.
For those of you jokers that are playing GTA 5, who got in on some online action?
I
tried.
did.
Was that last week?
I tried. Failed.
I got wasted.
How
right
was
away.
it, Liz?
was awesome.
It works now.
I didn't play.
Yeah.
Oh, it works.
We are doing it tomorrow.
Oh, it works.
At 9 o'clock. If anyone wants to jump
10.
on.
Are you actually going to show up this
Retry.
time?
I was in. I played it that night.
Oh, did
You got in?
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
I finally got in
We all
at
control
11 or
Z.
midnight. Yeah.
We have a crew that we've started.
We started a crew. We started a Nerdtastic crew.
Did I-
Send an
am I in
invite. You haven't. You have to sign up
I
for
did.
Social Club.
All right, I'm signed up.
Okay.
So am I in?
Once you're signed
Let
up,
him
You
in.
got to go
Jack,
through the
just let
hazing
him in.
process, but as soon as
I'm
we're-
signed up.
fine,
Be
Liz.
nice,
Liz said
let
I
him
got to
in.
let you in. So go to Social Club, and this is for anybody actually listening because I can add you all to it. It's Nerdtastic is the crew, including you, Mike, when you sign up.
Is it like a gang? Like, is it like
It
the
is,
Warriors?
literally,
where you
literally,
just like,
literally.
You have
yeah.
colors.
You're gonna get jumped in.
You have colors that you can wear.
It's GTA 5.
more
Liz,
like
Liz handled that.
It's more like
I'm in
West
charge
Side
of the
Story.
jumping.
We just kind of run around and snap our fingers and draw knives.
Are you playing?
No, I have one video game.
And that is...
Infinity.
Nice.
Disney Infinity.
So let's talk about this online mode for a second. And Jack and I got to play Friday night? I can't remember. With a buddy, friend of the show, Pete Upson. And we all got on pretty much at the same time and all went online together for the first time at the same time.
Aww.
And there's about...
It was that sweet. That's for sure.
and we're, the hope is that we'd all...
And Jason never goes online.
No.
Keep this in
He's
mind. He
scared.
never plays
I'm not
multiplayer or anything.
Not a multi... I'm a story...
He was drinking beer that night. It was crazy.
What?
Let's not get
Cursing.
out of hand here.
Whoa,
So, their tutorial to kind of start this thing, I imagine you could probably get through it in like a half hour maybe, but Josh sent us an article that said, okay, the top 5 things you have to do in online, and one of them was you have to make sure you get a good car right off the bat because that car stays with you. So suddenly it became
For the game, like any car you get after that, you have to buy.
Oh,
So if
okay.
not, this is your one free car.
So suddenly it
Just
became
running
about
around looking for a car.
yeah. Suddenly it
But
became
it
about
comes
online?
what
You
Can't
can.
steal a car? But you just have... That's
But
the
that's
one you
your
get
car.
You can, but
Okay.
there's some things that you have to account
But
for.
can we just first bring up that the tutorial is awful and makes no sense?
Yes.
That it shouldn't even be in the game.
right.
It's teaching you how
You're
to play a
forced.
game.
It doesn't really
You're
help you
forced to do
at
it, and
all.
it's teaching you how to play things that you learned in the single player.
Yes.
And especially for people playing on day one, they pretty much probably bought this game before online even existed, and so they know how to play, and you cannot skip it.
Really, the tutorial should have been hold the select button
Yeah.
and figure some shit
To
out.
pull up
and then
that,
play
yeah.
your-
Yeah, it
that's-
should have been completely optional.
So I'm like 10 minutes ahead of you and Pete, but we're
We're all
all
doing this first opening mission that it forces you to
but
do
not
this race.
together. So we're all on a whatever party chat, and we're all talking, and I'm like narrating, like dictating what's happening.
Well, it's a race.
ahead of you.
The first thing's a race.
No. I'm talking about after the race. once
Well, I found funny in the race that me and you had to actually face and race like 7 other guys. Pete gets in, he goes, "Nope, just me and one other dude," and he wins the race. I go, "Motherfucker!"
And so it's my first impression is that the tutorial. Granted, keep in mind I don't play multiplayer, but the tutorial. You think it'd be you kind of like learning how to do the controls. It's not.
No.
It's basically, let's put you in a real scenario. There's real people playing all around you, but we're going to restrict what you can do and give you some little missions. So that it's, like Sean said, it's not
it all
really a
people
tutorial.
who are completing the tutorial? Like, are you all
No,
on the same
that's
level?
the thing. It's like you can be playing with guys doing... They're playing the real game while you're playing the tutorial.
There's NPCs, there's computer guys in the world,
Yeah.
and then there's, at any given time on a given server, I think it's 16 or something.
up to 16.
Up to 16, which
So-
actually in that world isn't a lot of people.
Can you tell who they are?
Yeah, they have little
They have a
things
little
on the
dot
map.
on the
Sure,
map.
sure.
So the story for me is I get to the part where it's like, okay, you got to find a car, and then you have to go register that as your car.
And that's when it becomes yours. When you
Yes,
do the
and so
register.
because of the article.
So keep this in mind.
I decide, all right, I'm going to go look for a good car. So we're kind of chatting about like what in LA is ritzy. So we were like, all right, Beverly Hills. So I go and I find Beverly Hills.
Best cars.
I found a Lamborghini, which I believe is called an Infernus or something like that. Hop in it. This car is restricted. You only can buy it online. All right, fine. I go to the next house. Porsche. Hop in it. This car is restricted. Fine. Go to the next one. Dodge Viper. Hop in it. This car is restricted. It goes on and on and on. And as I'm going through Beverly Hills, I see a beater red pickup just drive through at faster. Like if you look at all the cars that are driving through the game, like the scripted stuff or whatever, they're like cruising at like 35 miles an hour. This guy's going 200 easy. And cruises by, and I see a little name tag over him, and he drives right by me, and I'm like, all right, whatever, that guy's going somewhere. So I continue my little search. I'm on foot looking for my car. This guy cruises back around, and he rolls down the window and starts shooting at me. So I dive behind a car, and I'm like, what is this joker doing? And so he kind of tries to shoot me, and I dive in some bushes and climb up a fence, and I'm off, and I'm like, whatever, I think he's gone. So I come back out.
But
and
he can see him on the map. Like, he knows where he's at.
And I come back out into the road, and we're the little row of houses, and I'm looking for, a good car. And this guy comes back and tries to kill me. And he's at it, and I keep ditching him, like he's not doing a very good job. But he's at it for like 15 minutes. Finally, I get fed up. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to fight back.
Good
and
for
do you know how I discovered the best possible option to fight back when someone's trying to run you over? Hop in their passenger seat.
Because in the car, you can't do anything to him.
Literally, this guy gets close enough to me where he tries to run me over, and he kind of drifts, and his back end hits a wall, and he doesn't quite hit me. So I just open the door, hop in his passenger seat, and then my character's just sitting there. And then he's like a bull that's trying to buck me off, like he's crashing into things, trying to get me to like get out. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, is there like an elbow the driver button? And I'm just so note to self: if someone's
a couple times.
maniacally trying to kill you, just hop in the passenger seat.
Oh my God.
Just go along for the ride, and you'll be fine.
That's amazing.
awesome.
So he's doing this, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well...
I'm telling them this, and they're like 15 minutes behind me. I'm like, whoa, this guy's... just
Well, I
hop in his
finished. I'm like,
passenger-
well, he hopped in this car, so I assume maybe the bug of the game was whatever first car you get into, that becomes your car.
Right.
So in
So
my
I
head, I'm
have
thinking.
beater
So
red
he's like,
pickup.
yeah. In my head, I'm like, he's getting all these errors. Like, you can't get that. It's premium. Whatever. In my head, I'm like, oh, it's because he jumped in that truck or whatever. I think it's the truck. So I'm like, so I'm way out in the ghetto, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, Beverly Hills. So I'm looking on the map. I'm like, okay, it's a long fucking run. So I run probably 15 miles equivalent in game. My attribute meter for like, and they're asking me like, Jack, where are you? They're already like getting ready to start some other side mission. I'm like, I'm almost there, and I'm not getting in any car. I'm like, not until I get to a ritzy part of town. So I end up like, I see the Vinewood Hollywood sign. I'm like, that's my mark. Now I'm literally just tapping it, running through the city. I'm like, this is taking me for. I get up in the hills, and I finally hit my breaking point. I'm like, just give me a fucking car. I want to go have fun. I get in the first one. I'm like, premium. I'm like, oh, fuck. You telling me I just ran 20 miles and now I have to save shit? But then it became a mission for us to get the best car.
Which
so me and Pete.
I have.
No, you don't.
Yes,
That's the fucked up part.
I do.
Me and Pete find I get like an equivalent of a nice BMW. And I'm like, this is pretty sweet. I trick it out. Pete gets something like it's pimp. Jason the whole time is going, no, guys, you got to go down to like Venice Beach. The best car's down there. So we eventually meet up because Pete's like, we need to go steal a helicopter. Because Jason was like, we need to go to find the military base to steal jets, and we'll race jets. I'm like, all of us are like, got nothing else to do.
Seems
Fuck
like
it.
the numero uno thing to do.
So let's go to this.
Let's do that.
Let's go to this helipad. So we all pull our cars up, and I'm like, "Oh, Pete, nice car." Fucking Jason pulls his car up. We're like, "The hell is that?" It looks like some Plymouth or like some old ass car. He's like, pretty fucking sweet.
Hold on. Keep in mind, I've played probably a half hour longer than they have looking
He had
for a
talked
car.
for 10 minutes how cool this car is. Like,
You're
you
gonna
guys
about-
got to get this car. You
I
guys
found
gotta get
this car.
Get about 16 miles to the gallon on this old log.
I find this car, and the police chase me into the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. You drove it into the ocean, dude.
And so I hop out and swim to safety. But that was a really good car, and you can tell, like they program the mechanics of the car to feel like you have more control over, pulling the e-brake and stuff like that. And this car was. I hopped in all kinds of cars looking for the right one. This car was legitimately way better than any other one. And
I think it was the only one that didn't give the error. Yeah, clearly it was the first one.
I lost it to the ocean, but then I found another one.
And that one
Clearly at the bottom of the ocean and drove it out.
Did you guys get into any jets, any flying around?
We're getting there.
Okay.
So
with my awesome car, and it is the best car you can get without paying money.
Yeah, it is.
You haven't driven it yet.
no, because there was no reason.
Here's
to.
the problem: if you look at it, it's not the most visually appealing. It's basically the Cadillac Crossfire.
It's ugly.
It's not an attractive looking car.
So this is the
but
other best
man,
part
does
about
it drive
pulling up
well.
with these cars. You pull up, and in my head, I'm like, I'm guessing they're going to try to make their character close to them or something close, right?
No.
So we get up.
no.
And by the way, the character customization is horrible in this game. Horrible. It does like a lineage.
It's actually
thing.
hold on.
kinda had
It's
fun with
actually
it, actually.
an incredibly.
I don't know. I thought it was.
It's an
horrible.
incredibly advanced thing, but it's useless if you want to just play the game because the way you design your character, it's not like pick a beard and pick. It's first pick which one was your great grandmother or
It's
your
all
grandmother,
lineage,
and
like
then
how
pick
you're
your
gonna look.
grandfather, and then you dial in their attributes, and then this is what your parents look like, and so this is what you
No,
look like,
seriously.
and
I'm
then
a
you dial
child of all
in
the
The
world,
thought
people.
is,
And then you
the
dial-
thought is cool.
You
Yeah.
dial
But
in
it's-
how much influence do you get from your mother's side versus your father's side.
Jesus.
Yeah,
It's
it
really bizarre.
You
Does
think
it
it's
affect how you
deep.
talk or anything? Or
Nope,
yeah,
just
weird.
how you look.
You
Hey,
think
man.
it's deep. You're like, this is super deep, but then you realize pretty much,
It's-
unless you both are like,
like a joke,
Asian parents, black parents, or some ethnic,
You just got to
all
do
look
what
the
I
same.
did and just go for the rainbow.
That's racist,
It's
bro.
come out
Or
awesome.
just
That's
hit the
racist.
random button.
I didn't do my accents.
What did you do, Jason?
Jay calls me out every time we do
I
an
spent.
accent.
What did you pick?
No joke. I spent an hour getting as close to my look as I possibly could.
So, did you pull them up?
No.
Did you make a pirate?
So
Okay.
no,
No,
you can't.
and he should.
So we first
can't.
our buddy Pete,
Rastafari.
our buddy Pete is in a parking lot. We decided we're going to meet up in this place. I pull up and I'm like, hey, that kind of looks like Pete a little bit. I'm
going to let you finish talking before I chime in.
Then if you look at mine,
I pull up and I look at these two. Okay, first, Jason looks like a mixture of just this overdone Jewish Armenian dude, and I'm looking at him like, who are you going for? Pete pulls up and looks like he's been hit in the face with a frying pan. Neither one of these guys look out. I walk out, and I'm in my white V-neck and my aviator shades. Does somebody have it up?
No.
Can you pull up the pictures? Is it?
It's on mine.
Where did I put
How did you
the
do
picture
that?
How do we
from?
pull up your pictures?
Yeah.
It's on the social club. If you click on the game, if you
the
go
game?
so go to social club and you have to log in as you.
Yeah.
And then once you log in as you, if you click on GTA 5, it'll have the 3 characters that are in the story and then you.
Needless to say, neither one of these dudes looked even remotely like them at all. I'm like, okay, I see what you're going for. All right.
good luck. I tried to make mine look like me. It
I
was
made
impossible.
on accident, I made a sick Marlon Brando. Like, it looked so perfect, like Godfather era. And I was like, this is so good. And then it glitched on me so many times that the only way to fix it was you had to delete your character and then go back in. So the character I have was me just giving up and going like,
I just wanna
whatever.
play.
I just want to play the game now. And he actually kind of looks like me a little bit.
So we decide that we are going to break into a military compound. So
Well, we knew there was a military base.
Yeah.
But it didn't show up on the map. It doesn't show up on the map.
so then Jack and I think are just hanging out, and Pete just. Oh no! It was
I
you
jump
guys
in
go
with
get
him.
a
We
chopper.
go get a chopper. Pete's like, we need a helicopter.
They stop and just pick me up.
Or like Jason stops. So he lands in the middle of the street. We pick up Jason, and then we realize we don't know where it's at. And you pull up the map, and the map doesn't show where a military base
You pulled
is.
up the map.
Well,
I opened
did.
the
And I
case
left it
and
open.
I got the map,
Yeah.
and I was like, let's see.
and I'm literally like human GPS. Like I left the map up, and I'm following our little arrow, and we're going super slow, and the world's huge. And I'm like, a little more to the left. All right, I'll straight. A little more to the right. And I'm guessing. I see something that says Fort something, and that's all it says. There's no like an outline of a building. And we get close, and all I hear is Pete starting to yell, no, there's buildings out in the middle of nowhere. I think this is it. And now I know from previous games, and I've never done it, but I've heard from all of you guys, that if you land in a military base or even go close to it, your star rating goes to 4.
Yeah.
And they don't fuck around. They kill you instantly. I'm like, maybe this game's different. It's not on the map or multiplayer. Maybe they don't care. So, and they're telling us, they're like, if we land, shit's going to go down. I'm like, nah. So we land the helicopter. We're getting close, and we're looking. I'm like, get close to the jets.
I wonder if it shows up.
So we see jets in a hangar. There's like, I think there were 3 of them, weren't there?
Yeah.
There was like an exact number of jets for us. And we're like, all right, we'll get in the jets.
There were 2. Sorry.
Were there 2?
There were 2.
So it was bound to
One
turn
for
one
you.
of us was screwed.
Somebody was going down.
Somebody was going down.
One for Pete, and one for Pete to run me over in.
So we get the helicopter. I'm like, all right, you ready to go? Now, the star rating hasn't come up when you're in their airspace, which I thought it might. Literally.
By the way, hold on. Let's pause there. If you were going to do this, where would you land the helicopter?
Someplace high, like on top of a building.
Really?
Like
You wouldn't
that.
land them right next to
Oh,
the
right next to the
jet.
plane. Yeah,
Right next to it.
plane.
Not a mile away from them? Good job, Pete.
We were pretty close. In all fairness, we were pretty close. We weren't that far. He lands it. We beeline. Instantly 4 stars. As soon as we hit the ground, we dive out in that roll, and we're running. And I'm like, and it's literally like I'm listening to Chariots of Fire. And I'm like, you could see it. The jet's in arm shot. And like Pete and Jason are yelling, like, Pete's like, I think I got it. Did Pete?
Pete got it and was taxiing out. I got run over by Pete's jet.
That's right. I'm in hand shot to the door to get in the jet. Like, I'm literally doing the animation you trigger with Y to get in the vehicle. He puts his arm up, goes in, I get tank shot. I go down, I'm like, I'm dead. Are you good? And Pete's still yelling. He goes, I think I got it. I'm on the runway. He's like, fuck. And then a tank pulls out and shoots him head on the runway. We're like, all right. So it spawns you. Now, no, we had a helicopter that we've landed in the military base we no longer have.
Right.
We are now probably the equivalent of 50 miles out of town, and it puts us in a creek bed outside the military base. So Jason, he died before all of us. He runs up to the military base, and he's doing the perimeter, going, there's got to be a way in. Me and Pete spawn. Pete looks at me. I look at him after spawn. I'm like,
In case you're curious, it takes 45 minutes to walk around the military base.
We look at each other like, hey, dude, what's going on? We each pull guns and just in the middle of this day. He kills me. I'm like, all right, I got you. But instead of it respawning me there, no. It triggers a stupid death animation that happens the first time you die in online, where an angel comes down in a leisure suit, talks to you. Yeah, put me back to the fucking city. What? So these 2 jackasses stay at the military base. We're like, we're trying to find a way in. And I'm like, I'll find a jet. I'll come meet you. Yeah, dude. I finally break into the airport. There's no jets. There's nothing. I'm like, all right. And I'm bored. And it's been like an hour. Literally, like, I'm doing this. I'm like, so I find an El Camino like anybody would. And I'm like, Pete, because Jason at this point, I think, is like, I'm going to bed. Fuck you guys. So I'm like, hey, dude.
It's 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I'm gonna drive to you. I'll get there. Literally, it's 50 miles. It took me another 30 minutes to get out to Pete my El Camino. So, of course, the first thing I do is run his ass over because he killed me. But he spawns back there, and what it does is it triggers a multi. When you kill somebody, like you've each killed each other, it triggers like automatic team deathmatch. And you go into I didn't even tell you this, it triggered like an online mini game for us. So, I had guns. Pete didn't have any guns. So every time Pete would spawn, he'd be like, I'm coming at you! And then one-shot shotgun. He's like, I'm coming in with crazy fist, and there was trees and bushes, and he'd come scraping side to side with as much animation as he could. One shot. As soon as he got close to me, he's like, this wasn't near as fun. So he comes back in, and I'm like, all right, Truce, we got to get in the military base to honor Jason. We got to make this happen. You can't drive through the front gate. We've already realized that. So I get the El Camino, and I didn't tell you this yet. We're looking around the perimeter. We're like, there's got to be a way maybe to jump.
Yes.
We found not even a cliff. It's a ledge that's on the same height as the fence. Now, the fence has 2 fences. It has a perimeter fence, then like a jail. It has that alley that goes around the base, and then an inner fence. And I'm looking at Pete, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we can clear the first fence. And Pete's like, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to jump out when we try to do the jump, and then when you get as far as you can over the fence, you jump. And then we'll just try to make a run for something. I'm like, Of course, it's 2:30, almost 3. We're like, this is the best idea we've heard all night.
Sounds good to me.
So we back, and there's no real runway. So we back up on this cliff. I'm like, all right, dude, do or die. Fuck, we've got nothing else to do. We clear the first fence barely. Pete's like, I got it. Pete jumps out. My car hits the fence, and then like Wizard of Oz falls on top of him. Literally, I get out of the car. I'm like, Pete, I made it. I look down. Pete's legs are out from the El Camino, and he's like, son of a bitch. He's like, I'm back in the creek bed, and I'm like, and I'm literally though so happy I made the jump into the first part, and the car's still up. So I'm like, I'm free, bitches, and I start driving the inner path. And my star level's slowly creeping up, but it hasn't gone full bore. I'm like, all right, I find an entrance in, and instead of doing what I should have done, which was drive right to the jets, I see a military cargo truck. I'm like, that's got to be a beefier vehicle. Don't ever get into the military cargo truck. It goes a whole 2 miles per hour.
Yeah.
As soon as I get in, Pete's like, and he's on the fence line. Watch you guys. You're so fucked. I'm running faster than you're driving.
That's the same truck you were talking about and picking up
horrible.
the weed stash. That's
They
the same
rammed
truck.
me with the little Jeeps from the military and just blew me up. He's like, he goes, wait for it. And he just counted down. Because he could see the Jeeps on my ass. He's like, and welcome to the creek bed, bitch. and then I came out, and then we're basically stuck. He hails a cab all the way the fuck out there.
There's another way to get in. My buddy and I were playing, and he knew this secret way to get in. So there's a highway that goes into a tunnel. And
that's over by the water treatment.
And on the right side of the tunnel, there looks to be like a cliff, but it's actually a hill. And if you go cruising down the highway, and instead of going through the tunnel, you go straight at what looks like a cliff, it goes up, and you just shoot into the.
So it clears both fences?
It clears both fences, and we pulled up right next to the jet, and as soon as we got out, everything just blew away.
I love that Pete made the runway, though.
This whole time, as lame as this sounds, I was looking for my picture. And I have been a victim of the lost my online character. So
that happened to me.
What is that?
That happened to me twice the same night.
What is that?
It was
Your
a
online
bug.
character
A
just
bug that's
disappears.
supposedly been fixed, but your online character is gone.
So you have to recreate
And go through that
But
whole thing.
Guess what
together.
car?
Jewish Armenian
Guess
mafia?
what car I'm getting?
The
Prius?
shitty car.
Yaris?
What's it called? The Surge. I like that they can't get the legal names for any of the cars, right? They can't, or they just don't want to, and so they just call them stuff that's ridiculous, like the Surge. Sure, that makes sense.
Well,
That's
the
electric.
Tesla is called the Coil, which is pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah, a lot of them are inspired. And then
What's the Prius called?
the Prius
Surge.
is the Surge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said the one was called the Infernus.
The
That's
like a
Lamborghini.
Lamborghini.
Right.
So,
The-
Pecco, you played?
Yeah, I haven't played online yet, but I've been
okay.
playing the single player.
Okay.
I went on a rampage the other day and stole a bus and just started destroying shit, and then I drove it off Santa Monica Pier into the ocean. Tried to climb on a cop boat.
Hey, did you see my car down there?
Did you pick up the
Landed right next to
like
it.
a car.
It was still moving really slowly.
Here's one thing I definitely wanted to say is I'm not a big multiplayer gamer, and I've labeled myself that because all of the multiplayer games that I have tried have been first-person shooters. I am absolutely committing right now to say that I'm no longer going to say I'm not a multiplayer gamer.
Wow.
He
I
said a
had-
big statement while we played
That's a
that.
big day.
like,
I
before
have
he
never
jumped on.
had that much fun playing online, and I was thinking about a little bit about why it is, because I've tried to play with you jokers on like Minecraft and other things, and I think it's the fact that there is for me, it's online and it can be competitive because we talked a lot about competitive, but that's not necessarily like you can
That's
have
not what we
races
had the
and
most
stuff.
fun with.
We had the most fun trying to just goof around.
Which that game's geared for.
Exactly, and so like I was thinking about
And
Call
Pete,
of Duty.
Pete
If we were to go
thrives
in
in that environment, by the way, that's like his comedy.
if we were going to go in and play Call of Duty, if I was going to play that with somebody, it's not you don't goof around in there. If you're not trying to shoot somebody, you're going to get
When
shot.
we- when we played that knives, what was the game that we
like
played?
Sticks and Stones.
Sticks and
like, yeah, different
Stones?
game
That was
plan.
brilliant.
Yeah, those are made to be fun, though. Those,
But I had so much fun, and we didn't.
before you went to bed, you said that. You're
we
like,
didn't
this is the
even
most
do all
fun.
that much. I mean,
No.
we got shot, and I lost a car to the ocean. And I learned that you can save yourself by passengering. That's what I'm calling
That is
it.
hilarious.
With other people.
You just jumped in the car.
Literally, this guy's trying to run me
Sat
over. I'm
there.
like, hey, what's up, buddy? Let me hop on in.
The game's funny from the standpoint of you do have these other people when you play multi that are in there. And there's not many, like I said, 16. But I realize, and keep this in mind when you two go play online, that the second mission after the car thing, the car race is your first mission in the tutorial. The second is you have to go rob a convenience store.
By the way, in the opening race, the car they give you don't have an option for this.
No.
The car they give you,
just take it.
pretty sure it's the worst car available.
You can pick which one you have options.
Not in the first one.
Yes. Right when you get in.
I didn't remember.
I picked
you picked
the Washington, and the guy that black dude, the partner guy that you're with,
Lincoln?
Lamar.
He has a name.
I didn't know. They all look the same to me.
Pekka, what would that be? That's racist.
That's
But
racist.
the comment that he said whenever I chose that one, he goes like, "Oh well, someone's got to at least pick the Washington." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's on, baby."
I'm pretty sure everything
I
I
got
did
fourth.
when I was online was the shit you do in normal life. Like, you get your car, and I go up.
Sean went to
pull
the
up.
dry cleaners.
No,
and then the
I
grocery
pulled
store.
up to the chop shop where you're supposed to like register your car and stuff, and it was closed. Like, these closed, and there were like 3 jokers like hanging around waiting for it too, like waiting. So I just ran all those guys over because I was tired of them. But I had to leave for like 15 minutes and drive around the block a couple times and then come back, and it was open again. But like it was closed the first time.
That was the worst thing about the tutorial too, is you had to rob a convenience store.
Yes.
And when I went there, they're like, "Oh, this convenience store was just robbed, so just wait a little bit; it'll open back up." And I waited for a half an hour, driving around, killing people, and then finally it opened, and I ran the mission. But it was a half an hour because it had already been robbed.
Somebody was on though to what you could do in that game, because every noob has to go in there and rob this liquor store. So I rob it. The second I get the money, I'm like, sweet. There was some dude who's been in the convenience store with me I haven't noticed. As soon as I got it, shot me in the back of the head dead. Took my money, walked out. He's like, thank you.
And that's the
'Cause you
coolest thing about the
you
game.
can do that.
Yeah,
I'm,
it is.
I'm with you. There's a similar thing, because another thing that they told you is one of the top 5 things you have to do online is you have the concept of money. But if you have cash and you die, that cash can be stolen. So it's store your money in an ATM. Find an ATM and store your money there. Yeah. So I go hunting for an ATM, and I find one, and I park my car in front, and I get out, and I get shot in the head. And
rule of thumb, hang out by the ATMs.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I go, all right, screw that guy, but I'm going to at least go get my car, which is parked next to the ATM, walk back to my car, shot in the head, more cash stolen. I chose a different ATM after that.
I was pretty sure someone was
Let's
going to
get the
steal my
car.
car after the convenience store robbery, but luckily they didn't.
They can't.
'Cause
You
I
can,
would've stole
this is
someone's
an
car.
interesting thing. You can actually choose who can get in your car and who can't. So you can open it up to crew, and friends,
that's
or
right.
everyone.
I did
So
that
you can
right away.
choose to actually have it so that no one.
So if you have it like that, would you have been able to jump in that guy's car who was trying to kill you?
If he had,
That's
If
a
he
good
stole
question.
that
If
car,
he
if
had
that wasn't
set
his
the-
main car,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
that's
So
what-
once
so you can still steal
got
any
it.
car.
Yeah.
You can go get a Lamborghini, whatever
You
else.
just
That's
don't
just not.
keep it.
No.
You can keep
Hey, how do you arm yourself? Because you have a gun,
Left
right?
bumper.
Huh?
Left bumper.
So
Just like
I
in the
went in to
single
go rob that convenience store, and I was not armed. So I just go up to him with fisticuffs, and he's just like, beat him up. And he's
You,
just
sir,
like,
I have a beef with you.
Yeah. Needless to
I
say,
challenge you.
the cops started to come, and I had
Oh my
I had nothing to
God.
fight him with. I thought
I'm
so
rocking
much
sock
booked
him
it.
in you
That's
right now.
hilarious.
One of the best things about the game too is I was playing the single player yesterday, and there was an ATM, and I was like, "Oh, what does this do?" And it does really nothing.
Nothing. It
All
does
you can
nothing.
do is check your balance. So the whole
really?
reason I think they put those in the single player was just for consistency's sake, that they're all everywhere in the multiplayer.
It shows you what you bought.
Yeah, it shows you where you spend. It's just like if you look at your bank account online. But it was so cool to me that I was like, oh yeah, that you rather than just like have them magically only appear in online, they're like, put them everywhere.
You know what I miss about it though is in San Andreas when you were running down the street and you like pushed the button near somebody, you'd do like the wrestling move and you'd like do the full pile driver or whatever. And you don't
pretty
get to
awesome.
do that in this game.
No, this one is. You go up next to a guy, you press the tackle button or whatever, and then he does this big wind up of a punch,
Yep.
and then
Or you jump
misses
up and like bounce off
every
of them.
time.
After going into the strip club and seeing what goes down in the strip club,
Which was your first time in a strip club?
the first time I've
He had no idea. He's
I
like,
didn't
oh my
know.
god, he
This is
called
what
me.
happens
He's
here.
like, Sean, there are
It's
women.
money.
It's amazing.
Is that true?
Have you been here?
What?
That's legitimately true for me.
Yeah.
He's never been.
That was
Yeah.
my
Oh
first
my
time in
God.
it.
Wait, so my thing
Just
is
like
like
that.
it was.
They're all
it-
cartoons.
It's crazy that like that's in there, and then there was that big hot coffee fiasco with one of the old GTA ones. Like, what's the difference?
Well, When a man and a woman love each other.
Wait, are you talking about the difference between the strip club and the hot coffee mod?
Yeah.
What's hot coffee?
Well, there was textures where they were fully.
No,
nude,
I
right?
mean, there's the
strip
difference
clubs
with
are straight up
sexual
nude.
intercourse.
Well, actually, in the game, Trevor may or may not be totally.
Oh, I've
in the
seen
bug.
that. I've seen that scene twice now. Not on purpose.
Okay, I've seen it once on my head. I'm like,
I-
did you
Deliberately.
I died and
We
I
have to be
had to
honest with anyone.
replay.
We have to be honest with ourselves.
Sean conveniently died. He walked out the door. Oh, the car ran me over. Guess I got to see it again.
But there's a point where Trevor pulls down his pants and you see his ass. And
But
then
at the very
end of the scene, he bends down to pull his pants back up. And the hot dog, the Frank and the
Shut
beans,
up. Oh, yeah.
dip down.
Dip down.
And it's
Liz is in.
All
You gotta-
right.
you gotta-
I'm playing this game.
You got to
this week.
glance at the goat, did you?
Fuck Infinity.
The
Just kidding. No, I'll still play that game too.
Mike, when you
How do you do this?
when you see when you see like these massive games like that, is that like something like you're like, fuck, I wish that's something I'd love to be on, or you're like, fuck,
Or it looks
that.
like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what they're doing in terms of scale, right? But I mean, it's tough to kind of deliver. Like our games are a little more. I hate saying the word linear. I mean, we try to go. You have a couple of options in most places, but I mean, you could focus on those little things, and like the fidelity of everything is you're able to do things higher, right? But I mean, the scale. I mean, I played the other Grand Theft Autos, and I mean, I was in that rabbit hole for I don't know how long. It's so much fun. So I mean, just the scale of what they're doing is amazing. It's so much fun. So I like what I'm doing right now. I like the quality
answer, good
stuff.
answer.
I like the quality stuff. I like the story driven stuff.
Are you
so.
playing anything else now?
Not
before you play
right.
GTAV?
Not right now. I've been really busy with stuff with the kids, like reintroducing myself back to my family. And stuff.
Yeah, understandable.
But yeah, I have a stack of games that I have to actually get to. So, and actually,
tonight,
this one looks like it's going to be moved to the top of the list.
Well, we played golf. I got conned into an invite.
Oh, I don't know how we didn't tell the story. You stop talking right now. It's not did we play golf. We played a game of golf. It was Pete and Jack and I and a random black guy who, I don't say it like that, but he was wearing a bright orange shirt and he was wearing wingtip white shoes out to, like, it was just the best. He was a pimp.
He was a lover.
And
Like
the best part is
painful to me.
Pete gets up to swing, and it's not. This is a mini game. This is not a complex mechanic. You stop talking. This is an easy mechanic. This is all right. You move your left thumbstick down, and when it gets to the orange part, you move it back up for your full swing. Not tough. So then your character goes like this, and then he hits the ball, and it goes where you're aiming at, where the cursor is on the screen, where the crosshair, right? So Pete gets up. He fiddles around for a bit. Oh, yeah, okay, this makes sense. He hits the ball. Then Pimp gets up, and then he hits the ball. And then I get up, and then I hit the ball. And then Jack gets up, and the ball goes approximately 2 inches.
Which is
then-
close to real life.
And then Jack goes,
anxiety.
I don't get this. And he gets up again, because he's now first out. And so then the ball goes approximately 3 inches. And this proceeds for about 5 hits until
Mulligan.
you make it onto the green. And then from there on out. And then the best part is Jack sucks in digital golf. And then we're like, all right, this is done. We played 2 holes. And Jack's like, no, come on, we got to finish the round. He was adamant.
When I figured out
and
how
I-
to use the control, I was in.
Pete and I
There was
left.
no catching up, mind you.
We
after
left
5.
and we were committed to going and getting military jets. And Jack's like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm
like
already 2
golf
holes
games
into this.
I was
Beat
into the golf.
each
No,
other.
when you learn how to play something, you want to finish.
We're playing 18.
There was, like I said, there was no catching up to minus 10 that I got on the first hole.
Have you guys played tennis yet?
Yeah, I love tennis. Tennis,
Red, dude.
The game, the mini game is really good. I thought I was impressed with the number of kind of hits you can have in the mini game.
I think it's because they made that ping pong game, and it seems like it borrows a lot of the mechanics. They did Rockstar Table Tennis
Oh,
right
really?
at the 360 launch, which I think was them trying to test out the engine they had built for GTA 4.
Because it's a pretty in-depth.
Yeah,
Tennis
it's intense.
game,
It's
yeah.
really well done. And yoga, by the way,
Oh boy.
really good.
I've only done the one you're forced to do.
Very
I have
good. Yeah,
not
me too.
gone back to.
I probably won't.
Namaste.
I'd rather.
You didn't do that in the story?
I did in the
He
story.
says
but I'm not
that
going back.
900 times. There's a character you meet who says Namaste like 800 times.
I like that character.
Yeah.
Namaste. If you say it again,
How many hours are you in?
I'm at like 36, 37%.
Which is how many hours?
Which
Yeah.
Wow.
It sounds like it wouldn't be a lot. You're like, only 36. I feel like I've played a ludicrous
Well, I mean,
amount
a lot of the gameplay in general
how much,
for that game is
how
just
much,
running
how
around.
much is that, you think?
I'm at
How many
31%. And I think I'm at 20 hours.
Yeah.
You can look. You'll be able to see right now. It's on the social club. It keeps track of it.
Yeah, on the right side it says game progress.
Yeah.
On the bottom there.
Progress.
Oh, there I am.
So you're 36, and then if you click to the right on those arrows next to game progress.
I don't think
Oh,
I
down,
can see
no,
it.
down there.
right there where it says the numbers, Sean.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing numbers.
34.
This is
okay.
great
Those
radio.
dudes.
Excellent
There we
radio.
go, we're clicking.
The cursor is
Keep going.
moving closer to
going.
the arrow.
There you go.
Okay, so
18 and a half
18 and a half hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that puts things in perspective.
The thing is, though, is like it counts.
Liz, don't you roll your eyes.
It counts the time
It was
that
just
you're.
raised eyebrows. I don't know if I have that kind of time.
That time
Week and
counts
a
the
half.
time that you're just driving around, fucking around, right?
Literally,
Yeah.
it.
Holy shit, I played more and I've done way less.
But you do dumb shit. You're like,
do.
what did you do? I don't know. I drove up into the hills and I jumped off. Like, so I heard. Didn't you say you took the fucking the cable cart over top of a mountain and tried to jump off?
And I
See, I
died.
haven't done that shit. I want to finish the game actually because I've never finished the whole Grand Theft Auto. Just to say I've done it, and then I'll go do dumb shit.
I used to just cruise around and just get in as many stores as I can. and
The
see how long I can
multiplayer,
survive.
that's where I do dumb shit. Like, I have no desire to want to do most of those missions. I played one team deathmatch without them, just to see what that's like.
I heard there's a mode in multiplayer where half the team gets jets and the other half gets motorcycles, and you have to go from like the forest to the coast without getting killed by the dudes in the jets. Sounds amazing.
I didn't see that one.
That sounds
Where the
like
hell
so
was
much
that at?
fun.
There were some mini races. Me and Pete, before we left the
like
end
a
of the
Top
night,
Gear
we did a race against some other people. Oh no, it was a race on the military base. You actually do it on the airfield, but you run over missiles and shit you could fire at each other. And Pete didn't know any of that. He's like, I don't know what to do, and
It's like Mario Kart with fast
he reads
cars.
the instructions,
Awesome.
and for some reason he thinks Y was in the instructions, so we're driving, and he's got me beat way out. He hits I'm slowly catching him. He hits Y. All of a sudden, this body comes flying out of his car, and I run him over. I'm like, woohoo, sucker!
Well, I was playing with one of the other designers at work, and we were driving around. And anytime we saw a white dot, which means it's another real player in the world, we'd be like, oh, let's pull over and let's just fucking kill him. And so we did it so much, suddenly we were in an Xbox party, so like we could still hear each other outside of the game. And suddenly he just goes, I'm not playing anymore. I got booted out. And I guess enough people had downvoted him for
Is that what happens?
going around and killing
you
people.
can-
And that's
I
all
didn't
we
even
were
know
doing.
that.
That doesn't
We
sound
didn't even
right.
play a mission. All we did was find those white dots. He found a helicopter, and then the best was I'd have him pick me up, like if I died or something, and I'd be like, "Hey, dude, pick me up," and he'd land the helicopter, and I'd just fucking shoot him in the face, and I'd hop in the helicopter. I'd
That
go
was me and
kill
Pete.
2 or 3 people.
It's just too easy to kill your buddy. You're like, hey, dude, you're looking good tonight. Just shoot him in the head. You're like, fuck. So you're in. You're sold on the mall. You're sold on the mall too.
Yeah, I'm not sold on some of the bugs with the online stuff just yet, but
Well, we don't have to do
They'll
those.
fix it.
Oh,
those
come
start
on.
missions.
When it comes to the bugs,
come.
this is the one thing I think about the bugs is it's people talking about cracks in the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Like at a certain point,
Sure.
the shit that they're doing is incredible. This Rockstar Social Club is incredible. Like the tech behind all this stuff is amazing. And yeah, it took me 2 hours to get on Thursday night, but the second I got on, I was like, yeah, this was worth it. I waited in
Speaking of
2-hour
that-
lines for Disneyland rides.
Somebody needs to design the icon. I hate doing those like Black Ops, Call of Duty layered kind of icons where you kind of design stuff where people like make boobs and vaginas out of like 50 layers. I'm not good at that shit. So one of you guys create us a nerd icon out of like 80 layers. That's all I see. I play Call of Duty. I look over at people's avatars. The shit that they can make out of like a missile, a circle, and the letter A is retarded.
It's prime for dongs, though.
Seriously,
Yeah,
dude.
that's true.
Fine, go in there, Pecco. We know what you're doing tonight. Make the Nerdtastic logo, dude.
there are 2 other quick things I just wanted to mention, just kind of semi-news related from this week. Xbox announced, or Microsoft announced that the Xbox One will automatically record video whenever an achievement is unlocked, which I thought was really cool. Because
like just
Video of what?
of
Yeah.
the
Video
moment
of the
of
game?
after,
Of
or
you
like
dancing
where's-
around?
of the moment, it kind of
what?
like
Your Connect,
Like in the
your
football.
Connect turns on and it's your facial expression.
Oh yeah.
Well, wait, have you guys seen the crash cam in Burnout Paradise? Did this with the original, not the original, but the Xbox 360 camera, where whenever I would like ram into you, it would turn on your camera and it would take a picture of the person who got crashed and the person who crashed into him. And it would show the pictures to the other guys. So
I had my ass ready every time.
No, that's what it was. I had a buddy who every time I'd fucking ram into him with a car, I'd just get a giant middle finger, and then I would have like 2 thumbs up. It was fucking awesome. So as funny as that is, that is what the future should be.
Do you remember nights we played Burnout at the
that
apartment?
Game was so much fun.
We had at the apartment, the 3 of us.
Aftertouch, where you smash into stuff, and now you go slow motion. You can like kind of just steer your car towards.
We would pass the controller.
School buses.
We may or may not have been on substances as we passed the controller. Be like, see if we can do it. Fuck.
Go off the jump.
There's 3 grown ass adults just passing Xbox controllers. Dude on this couch.
The only other thing I wanted to mention is don't eat chicken right now.
Why?
Because the
Foster Farms, right?
The government
Or their lack of
are no
FDA
longer
right
monitoring, so there's a
good
salmonella
times.
outbreak with chicken. So
Yay!
I'm sure
Now, is
McNuggets
that a
are
direct
fine.
thing?
Yeah,
Do you
chicken
think it's
McNuggets are
because-
fine. That's not real chicken.
Right.
It's pink slime.
Do you think it's because the FDA wasn't there to check that batch?
Yeah, but actually, I did read another article that said they're now, because of the salmonella outbreak, they're all staffed back up again.
Are they getting paid?
Or is it like the furlough business?
That's like a medical joke.
They're there, but they're not
We'll
really
get you
getting
later.
paid.
No, but in
That's
other,
it.
Here's your IOU.
in other news that is equally as terrifying, the nuclear reactor monitoring team for all of our like power plants, the nuclear power plants, they're going to be furloughed very soon. Like 90% of them.
We don't need
That's good.
They're fine.
Government.
The number one line of defense between you and a nuclear power plant meltdown.
Homer can do it. Like, that guy's
I've
an
seen the
idiot.
people that work there. Exactly. I think it will be fine, right? Sure.
Okay.
Ay, ay, ay.
I am so smart.
Well, I believe that time has come.
Are we there?
I believe so, unless anyone else has anything pressing.
Mike, do you got any shout outs? You want to give shout outs to the kids, to the wifey?
To the wife's staff, my 2 beautiful daughters, Madison and Samantha, and all my boys that work at Naughty Dog.
And huge thank you to Naughty Dog for letting us have Mike on the show.
Absolutely.
And we love your
Very
products, and I agree with the testament that the PlayStation 3 is nothing more than a Naughty Dog delivery system. So keep up the wonderful work. And that was for you, Jay. And Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Sure, it
man.
was a
Really,
Thanks,
really
brother.
Thanks,
We
Mike.
Had a
appreciate
blast
it, dude.
being
We
here.
appreciate it.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jason Carter.
I'm Jack Geckler.
You can talk.
I'm like, yeah.
I'm Sean Kearney.
Jason Pecco.
Liz Heron.
Sean Fennel.
Josh LeBron.
This is a long group. I like it.
That's what she.
A lot of
Oh,
fans.
come on!
They are.
One of you guys.
Come on!
Nerdtastic in 3D.